Hey everyone, Aneesh here, LinkedIn's Chief Economic Opportunity Officer. And in my role, I get to speak with Chief Talent Officers, Chief People Officers who are at the center of all the big changes that are hitting work. And I am so grateful to be joined today by Bettina from Allianz, who is leading such incredible work as we head into this new world of work. I always like to start with your own personal journey, because people coming into your role often come from all sorts of different backgrounds. How did you end up where you are today?
That's a good question. Actually, probably if you would ask me 5 or 10 years back, I would have never imagined to be the Chief People and Culture Officer of Allianz. But I'll come with a 25 years background in IT, transformation, operations, so all the ugly stuff in the back. Yeah. And in my last role, I actually worked with the people function in the transformation. And then I realized how great it is to have people, culture, technology all coming together. And I think this is a perfect fit actually for the challenges of the future, which are also opportunities of the future.
Yeah, as you've come into the role and into the talent function, what's something you wish people knew about what the day-to-day is like, about the work that you do? What was maybe surprising for you as you moved into this work?
Yeah, some things were surprising, others were not. I keep smiling a bit about it because when you're in IT, you typically all get the stuff which is not working and people are complaining. That's the same. Being in the people role, that means you get the things which people are not happy about and should be better, faster, etc. So I think that one is for me not a change. What I really enjoy is, I think, being in the center of what moves the needle now for our workforce transformation. I think I really feel I'm part of shaping what business is demanding. And I think this is a very great thing. So I think probably this is the best time of having the technology spirit, the people, the cultural elements, the human aspect, and bring this now at the table.
Yeah, more and more I'm talking to chief people officers who came from other parts of the business, and that is setting them up, setting you up to really deliver at this moment where the talent function is going to need to drive the business. For folks who have been rising up within the talent function across their career, or even people coming into CPO roles now, what are sort of the emerging skills that you think a chief people officer needs to have that might be different than 5 years ago, definitely pre-pandemic, before this rate of change really sped up?
Yeah, I liked what I heard just recently. Being a disruptor, I think, is a very great skill asset, because I think disruptive in not just continuing doing the same, but a bit more digital, but really thinking fresh and new. What's the human aspect to the role and what's the technology one? So I would clearly say whenever we hire obviously now for the attitude, the empathy, the human space, but clearly also for people who have this curiosity and the adaptability on really making technology part of it, rather than being afraid of it.
Yeah, and I've been talking about how we're entering a new economy, an innovation economy, coming out of the knowledge economy. And so where the technical skills used to be those most valued by the economy, these people skills, curiosity, compassion, courage, creativity, communication, are going to come to the center, and the result of that will be measured by adaptability, by innovation. So all that's happening because of AI. AI has sort of ushered in all sorts of new challenges for the talent function. How are you all thinking about AI? What are some of the early use cases? And as you think about the people part of work, the human part of work in the age of AI, how are you starting to think about what's coming?
I think AI is really an opportunity, although I really also appreciate to really fully respect that people are fearful of it. And I think it's the two sides we need to embrace. But I'm very much a fan of making this part of our lives, because it's here to stay, right? If I look at the change of the skill sets in the next 5 years, new things will come up as quickly as we cannot even think about that things will change. So I think we need to embrace the fear, make it light. I like that we're not always talking about efficiency in the first place, but much rather about the human aspect and how can I use it, because efficiency comes with it. But I think it should be not the first message for people to get out, and embracing the fear. That means for me putting a lot into learning, making them learning on how to adapt. And the lighter this feels, the better I think it is. So it's the two sides, but I think it's fair in our roles to really don't play it down, but also use the opportunity with it, and obviously run with this optimism, the new ways of how we would work.
And I think critical in this is, as leaders, making sure that you as a chief people officer are using these tools too. We were talking earlier, and you really have been intentional about role modeling for your team and your organization the use of these tools. Talk a little bit about that.
Exactly. I think I'm a true believer that only if you're authentic as a leader, if you ask your people to do things, you better start with yourself. And this role modeling for me is super, super key because people watch you. If you don't do it, how can you expect that someone else is doing it? So I think what we're currently doing, really, I would say in the last 2 years, but maybe even in the last half year more and more, to explore daily, where can we use it in our day-to-day routines, and where can it take away the ugliest 4 hours we were talking, which I really like as a theme, because it's such a nice way of expressing what it can do. So in our ways, we're really exploring how we integrate it in our day-to-day work, how we use the notebook function, I call it, in the sense of, bringing things together for a podcast. So all these little things, we have implemented a very great tool which helps us on the time to hire, to reduce, and to match the skill sets. So these are the things where I think in our function we can really apply it daily.
Yeah, I think to any chief people officer out there, if you are not using AI tools right now, you should have started yesterday, but you can start today. They are so easy to use. That's what AI offers, this sort of natural language, just communicate, ask questions. But as you start using it, it really opens your eyes into how work can be made better with those ugly hours going away, and then made new in exciting ways. As you've thought about the workforce overall, how are you thinking about upskilling, and what are the ways that you're now getting the workforce ready, both on AI literacy and the tools, but also this sort of new world of work that will emerge?
We have put a lot of effort since last year on both sides, on EQ, IQ. We've started last year with really putting AI and data across our 160,000 people to really do AI runs, data excellent trainings. And this year we have complemented, I think, very nicely with this more human-centric one. So we put a lot of focus on how can people learn on resilience, on analytical and critical thinking, on communication, which I sometimes get the feedback, why do we talk about communication? And I think it's actually the toughest one, right? To really do the right communication around that. And also on feedback, radical candor, because I believe in the time where speed matters, you need to have people who speak up, feel well to actually share what they like, what they don't like, fail fast and get it done. So we focus on EQ, IQ, and I think that's really what will be here for the future, the human-centric piece together with technology.
Yeah, I can't stress enough how new this world of work will be when the mind, not the machine, is at the center of work. And if you want to have teams of builders, teams of teams that are innovating, that requires psychological safety. That requires peer-to-peer feedback. It requires a constant feedback, if you think of a sports team and the camaraderie. It also requires just that energy allocation that people can bring to work, this excitement that drives curiosity. So where we talked about burnout a lot during the pandemic and that period, a lot of it was talked about in terms of retention, making sure people felt situated. But in the innovation economy, this becomes core to the ability for humans to do the new work of humans, which is coming up with new ideas. How are you thinking about burnout? And especially as you build this new world of work, how are you going to think about how companies should manage it in the future?
Yeah, we have put a huge focus this year on health, physical and mental, because obviously when you look at statistics, you see that the mental health, the stress on workload, rises also on younger generations. Typically in the past years, you would have said, like, this is a thing for the more seasoned generation. It's not true. So I think the speed and the volatility is really doing something. So we put focus, we have mindful moments, we have a lot of coaching going out there so that we help people to overcome the speed, not overcome, but to be part of that. Speed is not killing you, but rather you are in this world. So both things for us are key. I really believe a healthy organization is the one where you have people, as you say, who feel well, who trust that you take care of them, that they can thrive, that they can speak up without getting overloaded, because work will not go away and it's not getting less. So I really think we need to help that the management of work and work-related stress is managed in the best possible way.
Yeah, we were talking earlier about a line that when I was in Munich, a behavioral economist had said, which is, change will never be as slow as it is now.
I like that really much.
And so getting everyone ready for that and not thinking that it'll slow down, but how do I find stability within the instability? So much of that rests on people managers and not just how they manage this moment of change, but how they change themselves from managing the tasks that people did to managing the energy of the humans that they have and building cultures of innovation. How are you all thinking about that group specifically, because we often look to them as the frontline change agents.
It is, and to be very fair, right? They have a tough role. To actually taking care on that for themselves, but obviously also for many, many people. But I keep saying it's a bit like in the airplane, right? When you get into the airplane, people tell you, if you put your oxygen mask on, put it on first before you help others. And that's the same message here for me. I think you can only be resilient if you yourself take it serious, and then you can actually work with your teams. And that applies to every skill. I really, truly believe if you need to be learning on, what resilience is doing, what change is doing, start with yourself, because, then you can be the one helping others. But I think as a leaders, we need to help them that they're able to actually be the coach for the teams. And that's what it is. Some do it easier, others do not, but I really feel that it's a tough role, right? It's not this old way of thinking of how I manage performance. It's a different way. Also for new generations who come in, they ask for different things. So we need to be ready. And I'm really a big fan. Let's start with yourself, help yourself to help others.
Yeah, I am talking a lot about how we all need to be pro-human. And I say the same thing. We have to start by being pro ourselves. And the storytelling we do matters a lot. The story of self matters most. And so before you can build cultures that are pro-human, everyone's got to start with finding a way to find their strengths and their cause to be pro-human about themselves. I love that. And I also think that people that are on the rise doing the old math of like, more people means I will rise up further, and seeing that change, they're going to be afraid, but there's going to be so many new opportunities to reach levels of seniority without having to manage a lot of people, but do different types of work and opening up that imagination. So we're in a world of all sorts of new. What's sort of the program that you've launched, the new thing you all have done in the past few years that's been most exciting to you?
I think many things. Actually, I quite like that, again, starting with the top leaders, that we bring them together on their transformation journey, and then have them as alumni, because the more you have together, the more they shape the culture you want to be in. I think we have started a very nice thing, which I call a global mentoring. We're hiring more than 24,000 people a year, right? So it's quite some people. So if you buddy them up, so a new colleague coming in gets a more experienced colleague to be a buddy, and the other way around, you actually do these things where you naturally cross the generations, which for me personally, I find is one of the biggest underestimated things, but the biggest value, because it's not about Gen Z, it's not about the, the baby boomers. It is about all of us together. And we have 5 generations in the company. What an asset, right? Let's make them use and bring them together. So some of these instruments, they are very light, they're very easy to be applied. But if you do them at scale, you roll the ball, right? And that's really what I enjoy. So little things, but all together, I think they shape the culture where you want to be in.
And each generation, let alone each individual, brings unique capabilities based on lived and learned experience. Last question, just because, this is a big, hard, but joyful moment for people that are pro-human, for people that really believe in human capability and a world of work that maybe for the first time will allow everyone to bring that capability to bear. What are some of your favorite moments just as a chief people officer? What gives you the energy every day? Is it the moments of learning, the moments of connection? What are your kind of day-to-day energy inducers?
I'd probably say for me, the biggest energy booster is when I can talk to talents and, also listen to their demand and can give back some advice, and I see that they can thrive and grow with it. So giving back is probably something I enjoy very much, but also seeing the great ideas and, bringing them together and do something which even is fun to do. That's for me really the moment where I think it's all about humans at the end, and I enjoy that very much.
Well, thank you so much for the time, but also for your leadership in this moment.
Thank you, Aneesh. Thank you. Nice meeting you.